All right, so the handbrake, this cable here I put in a while ago, if you remember, and got that set up down there and adjusted properly. This is where the actual handle goes, and then you have a bunch of pieces of hardware here. So what's going to happen is this little arm under here, this connection right here is what connects up to that other end of that cable. And that sits under the car like this and pivots back and forth. And as you pull the handbrake cable up, this pivots like this. Eventually, what happens is it's connected to this arm right here, and then in this portion of the arm on the inside there is where the emergency brake cable is that runs out mechanically to the brakes, to the drum brakes themselves. So what I'm going to be doing is setting up underneath the car. So it's got a lock tab here. It's got a thing here, some pins and all that kind of stuff. The kicker parts are these guys right here. This is like a little dust seal, and obviously you can see that's all deformed. It's very dry and brittle. This is a little felt pad that also should be replaced, so that's not horrible. You can get these from Rimmers. It kills you because they're like $1.25 or something really cheap. I haven't been able to figure out, however, a slick substitution. I was thinking maybe cutting a small inner tube like a street bike, a road bicycle, like, you know, the Tour de France bicycles, cutting up an inner tube, but I don't think it's thick enough. So I'm going to put it back together the way it is right now, and if nothing else, just to kind of get it back together so I can make sure that it works and get it adjusted and all that kind of stuff. Rimmers is having a sale right now. I have some stuff in my cart. Eventually I'll get around to ordering this. I do have a new lock tab. I'm going to put the old one in so that I can get away with not destroying the new one. But I'm just going to go ahead here and get this thing all taken care of and ready to go. All right, this guy here, this is the relay lever. That put a little bit of grease on here just to kind of get the bearing moved up a little bit. The felt pad goes on top like that. Another reason to put grease on there for me. I'm also going to put a little grease on top of the felt pad. Again, I intend to get some, just go to the craft store and get some regular old felt and cut some out. This stuff's pretty heavy duty. Just trying to prep some stuff here. I'm also going to put a little bit of grease on this rubber seal, this dust seal here, just to help me keep it on there since I'm going to kind of be upside down. I don't really think it needs it, but it'll help me. And then everything else will get greased when I get under there. But now I'm going to try to get under the car and at least get it started. This portion right here where this clevis pin and all that stuff is, that's where the cable connects. So I'll do that, put the thing in, and then yeah, try to get it connected up. Now that I got underneath connected, this is obviously the brake handle itself. You got this little engagement pawl in here that's geared, and it engages with the little latch on there, and then that little guy is connected to the button. So that hole right there at the bottom, that smaller hole, that's what connects up to the end of the cable here. The larger hole, you got a pretty big pin and a washer and then a circlip that goes through that bigger hole, and that all connects up. So I'm going to go ahead and connect that now. So I do not have the fulcrum, the thing that the compensator sector, it's called, the U-shaped thing that I showed you. I don't have that connected because you can't get enough looseness on the cable here to connect everything up. So I'm going to connect the cable to the handbrake lever first. Alright, and then hopefully get this in here. Alright, now this little notch has got to go underneath that thing. That's a little painful. Yeah, sorry I had to go off camera there, but it's being a pain in the rear. You just gotta jockey that around and get the things all lined up. No real trick to it, I don't think, just gotta get it. Alright, so now that guy's attached to the cable. Now I'm gonna go underneath and see if I can't hurt myself and try to get that compensating sector connected. That was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be. So this guy's all connected up here. Now these emergency brakes are different than what we're used to on our cars, at least in the United States. And I think race cars have it this way, or something. You can just lift up and that engages the emergency brake, and you notice it doesn't stay engaged, unlike your probably your personal vehicle that has a handbrake. With the Spitfire, you got to lift up and then engage it, and then it holds. And then when you're done, you just lift up on the handle, the thing pops out, and you let it go. So I'll put some pressure on it, I'll take you underneath and show you the pain in the rear that was down there. Alright, so there's the compensating arm, that's that U-shaped thing there you can see. That's the connection. And then the pivot arm, can't remember what that was called, that's the cable that goes into the passenger compartment. And then over here is where it's obviously bolted all up. And again, I haven't done the lock tabs or anything like that, and I don't intend to right now. And I'm going to have to probably take this back apart at some point, as much of a pain in the rear as it was. So now what happens is this compensating arm, you can kind of see the cable there running out of the left-hand side. Cable runs out, runs onto this pivot point here that's attached to the frame, and then runs all the way out there to the drum brakes, and that is where you pull out on that, and that engages the drum brake. Same thing on the other side. So this cable right here that you see that's coming in here really helps, and it makes it much easier if you install that before you put the body on. It is possible to get it on with the body on, but it's a real pain in the rear. So that's kind of connected now. I don't know if it works. I'll have to get the car jacked up and, you know, put some pressure on stuff and adjust it, and I'm not going to do that tonight, but now I'm going to go do something else. Continuing on today, I'm going to get the emergency brake sorted. I got the rubber seal that I was looking for from Rimmer Brothers. Under the car here, obviously, it's going to be a little tight, so my angles are going to be right up in your face. But this is the linkage for the handbrake. This is where the cable is coming in and wraps around. And what I'm doing now is replacing the seal here, that new rubber seal right there, and that little locking tab. And that's going to screw up into that hole right there and get all sandwiched in there with a large bolt, that guy. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. It stacks up pretty easily. It's pretty obvious. And then we'll get to actually adjusting it, which will be the tricky part. All right, got the handbrake all connected. Kind of hard for me to see under here. Got the thing lock tabbed. All this reconnected and everything. And now I'm ready to adjust. First thing you need to do is obviously get the car up in the air and get the tire off. All right, what it tells you to do also is to dial the brake adjuster all the way in. That's that screw at the bottom there sticking out. It's a little 1/4 inch square screw, so that just gets the brake shoes all the way out. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull this spring off, and then pull this clevis pin and start from there. Alright, so what it says essentially is to adjust the cable so that you get equal amounts of slack out of each side by adjusting this is the clevis to get that both sides equally adjusted. And it says that if you cannot, it says adjust the clevis at each end of the cable by equal amounts to reduce the cable slackness. The cables are too tight if the clevis pin cannot be easily inserted without straining the cables. So the problem that I'm having is the cables are brand new, so they're going to stretch a little bit. So I really don't expect the ability to make this work all that great. But I'll go over to the other side and check that one out and do the same thing over there, and I'll be back. So it's just one big cable that goes across both sides. So that's kind of why it says the evenly slack. So I'm just checking out this here and trying to make sure that I've got about as many threads sticking out on this side as I do on the other side, and that should give me about equal lengths. Now this one is not easily going, the clevis is not easily going over the arm there, so obviously I need to loosen up the other side and provide me a little bit more slack. So I'm going to go take care of that, and it's just a balance back and forth until you get to the point that you want it. Got the cable adjusted. The like I said, it's still pretty brand new, so it's pretty tight. The nut that's inside the clevis here is almost completely to the end. I have my 1 or 2 threads coming out of it. I don't want to go any further than that. It doesn't fit easily onto the adjustment arm here, or whatever this thing is called, the brake actuator. But because I'm out of threads, I don't want to take a chance with doing that. So now the spring goes in, and the spring just simply connects between here and this little arm here, like that. And then it tells you to put the spring, obviously you don't want this thing flopping around, to put the spring under a little bit of tension. So there's nuts in here that I will adjust to get the spring under a little bit of tension, and then that will be that. Last thing you need to do here, since I've tightened the brake adjuster all the way down, can't get any rotation out of the wheel obviously, so just take the wrench here, tells you to loosen it up until you can get free rotation. And it's almost like it's notched, the adjuster, so you can feel that it loosens kind of in stages. And one more, that's pretty close. A little too much dragging. That's better. All right, so that's that. All right, pull the emergency brake on. All right, you can hopefully have seen that kind of come out a little bit. I can see this is under more tension, and I am definitely not moving that. So there we go. I'll have to watch the video later to see how well that loosens up, but you can see that it definitely moved. So that's how you do the handbrake. Again, because this cable is brand new and I expect it to loosen up as I use it, I'll probably have to do this several times early on until that cable finds its kind of a relaxed point, I guess you could call it.